Ever wondered about the hidden pages of history? Well, welcome to a journey that's going to take us off the beaten path. Today we're not talking about the world wars or the rise and fall of empires. Nope, we're stepping into the shadows where history's lesser-known tales reside. We'll be exploring 10 historical events, each more obscure than the last. These aren't your typical textbook topics, oh no. These are the stories that slipped through the cracks, the tales untold, the events so strange they sound like fiction. And we'll be presenting them in chronological order, from ancient times to the not-so-distant past. So get ready for a wild ride, folks. We're about to venture into the forgotten corners of history where mysteries abound and surprises lurk. So, if you're ready for an adventure, then fasten your seatbelts. We're about to dive into the unseen past. Let's set the stage on fire. Well, not literally. Heard of the Great Fire of New York, 1776? No? Well, let's fan those flames of curiosity. This was not your average bonfire. It was a monstrous blaze that devoured a quarter of New York City, a city that was then under British rule. Now picture this, a city of about 23,000 residents, suddenly waking up to the crackling sound of flames. The cause? A mystery that remains unsolved. Some say it was an accident, while others point fingers at disgruntled revolutionaries. The impact, however, was undeniable. The fire left thousands homeless and reshaped the city's infrastructure. It even played a part in the Revolutionary War, with British forces blaming American rebels and vowing vengeance. So, next time you think of New York, remember, it has had its share of fiery past. Ever had a disastrous dinner? Well, it's nothing compared to the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. Now imagine, if you will, a balmy August night in the year 1572, in Paris, France. The city was buzzing with the wedding festivities of a Protestant groom and a Catholic bride, a union hoped to bring peace between the warring factions. But as the city slept off the wine and revelry, a sinister plot was afoot. The ringing of the bells at the break of dawn was not for matins but a signal for a horrific bloodbath. The massacre began with targeted assassinations of key Protestant leaders and spiraled into an uncontrollable mob violence. By the time the sun set on Paris, thousands lay dead in the streets. A disastrous dinner indeed that left an indelible stain on French history. Talk about a dinner to remember, huh? Ever heard of Sybil Ludington? No? Let's change that. Our story begins in the heart of the American Revolution. It's a tale often overshadowed by the famed midnight ride of Paul Revere. But here's a twist. Meet Sybil Ludington, a fearless 16-year-old girl. One fateful night, she rode twice the distance of Paul Revere, a whopping 40 miles, to warn of impending British attacks. Now imagine this, a young girl, alone in the darkness, galloping through the perilous, unpaved roads of the 18th century American countryside. Her mission? To rally her father's militiamen against the imminent British onslaught. That's the equivalent of running 1.5 marathons back-to-back on horseback, no less. Her daring act, often brushed aside in the pages of history, played a pivotal role in the American Revolution. So, the next time you hear about Paul Revere, remember there was a young girl who did it better. Ever heard of an island that disappeared? Meet Bermuda. This phantom island was irregular on world maps right up until the 19th century. It was proudly plotted in the Gulf of Mexico, a place for sailors to rest their sea-weary bones. But don't go searching for it now, it's as elusive as a politician's promise. Bermuda was a cartographer's delight, a geographical ghost story that still baffles historians and conspiracy theorists alike. It was there, and then it wasn't. Theories abound about its disappearance. Some say it sank into the ocean depths due to seismic activity, others think it was a cartographic error to begin with. Yet there are those who whisper of a darker tale, a tale of land grabs, political intrigue, and erased evidence. But the truth? Well, that's as elusive as the island itself. Next time you're on Google Maps, remember, not everything that disappears is a glitch. Let's dance, but not like they did in 1518. Now I know what you're thinking. What's so special about 1518? Well, I'll tell you. In that year, in the city of Strasbourg, a bizarre event occurred that left historians scratching their heads even today. It's called the Dancing Plague. That's right, folks, a plague of dancing. One woman began to dance uncontrollably in the street with no music, no celebration, just the rhythm in her head. And it didn't stop there. Soon dozens, then hundreds joined in, their bodies writhing in a non-stop hypnotic dance. They danced until they collapsed, and some till they met their untimely end. Was it mass hysteria, a strange disease, or perhaps a curse from the dance gods? We may never know. What we do know is that this was one dance party that definitely didn't need a DJ. So, next time you can't stop dancing, remember it could be worse. Ever heard of Nikola Tesla? Well, how about Oliver Heaviside? Oliver who, exactly? Oliver Heaviside, a self-taught English electrical engineer, mathematician, and physicist, who sadly has been largely forgotten by history. Born in the mid-19th century, Heaviside, despite having no formal university education, made significant contributions to electrical engineering. His work paved the way for complex numbers to be used in calculations of electrical circuits. Doesn't sound like much? Well, without this, our modern communication systems would be virtually non-existent. He also reformulated Maxwell's equations of electromagnetism into the form we use today. Still not impressed? These equations are fundamental to our understanding of light and radio waves. Without them, we wouldn't have radio, television, or, yes, even your beloved cell phones. So, the next time you're scrolling through your feeds or sending a text, spare a thought for the forgotten genius, Oliver Heaviside. Next time you use your cell phone, remember, it's not just Tesla you should be thanking. Disappearances are intriguing, aren't they? Ever heard of the lost colony of Roanoke? In the late 16th century, a group of over 100 English settlers vanished without a trace from their new home on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. Their governor, John White, had returned to England for supplies, but when he came back 3 years later, the colony was deserted. The only clue left behind was the word Croatoan, carved into a wooden post. Was it a message, a plea for help, or the name of their captors? Theories abound, from a massacre by local Native American tribes to integration with those very same tribes, and even supernatural explanations. But the truth has never been definitively unearthed. So the next time you think about mysterious disappearances, remember, Roanoke was the OG. Science experiments go wrong all the time, but have you heard of the demon core? This notorious lump of plutonium, roughly the size of a tennis ball, was involved in 2 criticality accidents in the mid-40s, both of which were fatal. The demon core was a subcritical mass of plutonium, meaning it was just below the threshold of sustaining a nuclear chain reaction. During 2 separate experiments, scientists inadvertently brought the core to a supercritical state, resulting in bursts of lethal radiation. The first incident claimed the life of physicist Harry Daghlian, who accidentally dropped a tungsten carbide brick onto the core. The second accident occurred 9 months later when physicist Louis Slotin was conducting an experiment with the core using a screwdriver, which slipped, causing a prompt critical reaction. These unfortunate events gave the demon core its name and led to significant changes in safety protocols for nuclear research. So, next time you're in science class, remember, safety first. We've all heard of World War I and II, but how about the Emu War? Yes, you heard it right, a war against emus. In the annals of historical oddities, the Emu War of Australia stands out. It was the year 1932, and Australia was in the throes of the Great Depression. Western Australia particularly was facing a unique problem, a rampage of emus. These large, flightless birds were destroying crops, leaving farmers distraught. In response, the Australian military was dispatched armed with machine guns to combat the feathered foes. It was a sight to behold, an army against birds. However, the emus proved to be formidable adversaries, scattering in different directions, making them difficult targets. Despite the military's efforts, the emus prevailed. The operation was called off, and the emus, well, they went back to being emus. So, next time you see an emu, remember, they've seen war. So there you have it, 10 forgotten events from history. From the unseen past of the forgotten fire, which sparked change in ways we wouldn't expect, to the disastrous dinner that turned culinary history on its head. We've journeyed to the Phantom Island, lost in the mists of time, and danced our way through the puzzling dancing plague. In The Hidden Heroine, we uncovered a tale of bravery that time had overlooked, and in The Forgotten Genius, we unearthed a mind ahead of its era. We've delved into the mystery of the mysterious disappearance, and the ripple effects of the unfortunate experiment. And who could forget the Forgotten War, a conflict erased from the annals of history? Each of these events, though forgotten, have left their mark, shaping the world we inhabit today. History is full of surprises, isn't it? Thanks for joining us on this journey through the unseen past. Until next time, keep exploring.